Things are about to get very interesting in the world of weather once again, as we have several very likely severe weather days coming up. On top of that, we have an oppressive heat dome in the south that will be expanding, causing all kinds of problems for more people. And even though it seems pretty tame for now, the Atlantic Ocean is bubbling with energy, and we have to talk about what that could mean for the rest of this hurricane season. But first, let's start with the upcoming severe weather risks over the next several days. Meteorologist Andy Hill here at the Weather Forecasting Desk. Let's dive right into it. To set the stage, we'll look at the severe and flooding out-risk areas issued day by day by the Storm Prediction Center and the Weather Prediction Center. Then I'll show you the most important reasons why these risks are in place, as well as what times to expect them each day. Today, August 3rd, a severe risk is in place for this area of the High Plains and to the Central Plains, focused on supercells that evolve into a powerful windstorm this afternoon to evening from west to east here. That means afternoon storms are possible from the I-25 corridor in Colorado and Wyoming, and widespread storms by the evening time for Goodland through North Platte in this area. Additionally, we'll see another round of storms over here through the Central Plains and into the southeast for folks in Nashville, northeast Alabama, and the Atlanta area in particular. Now, in these areas, you're probably experiencing this storm that you can see right here that's moving through the morning and then dissipating by the time you watch this video. But there is more coming up behind that for y'all over the next 24 hours. This is the 3rd into the morning of the 4th. Your main concern over here will be gusty winds from those storms, but there's also this flooding risk highlighted by the Weather Prediction Center for those multiple rounds of storms moving through. The next storm will drop rain on already saturated grounds, so therefore we have an excessive rainfall outlook in place. And one more area of concern is actually up here in New England, up through Ottawa and Montreal. We'll have a slow-moving system over the next couple days for August 3rd and 4th, which will bring about scattered severe weather. You can see that in the slight risk area today, as well as tomorrow, August 4th. So each day's severe weather risk peaks in the afternoon to evening up here in the northeast and southeastern Canada. The storms will quickly swing around this trough of low pressure here. And since it's slow moving, we'll also have this flooding risk in place in the northeast in particular for August 4th, once we've already had rain falling for 2 days. Now after this, you'll have a couple days to breathe, but our next looming system there that you can see in Montana in the High Plains means serious business. Starting on Saturday, August 5th, a gnarly storm is going to emerge east of the Rockies and develop its own surface low pressure system, something we usually see in the spring and the fall. This time we're in the dead of summer, so let's take a look at it. This surface low pressure system will track east across the states through the weekend and into the start of next week. Each day already has a highlighted severe weather risk, and all severe hazards, including tornadoes, are a concern for these outlook areas. So this outlook is for Saturday, August 5th. This outlook is current for Sunday, August 6th, and we also have a severe weather risk area highlighted for Monday, August 7th. For all of these days, late afternoon into the early night hours are when the severe weather risk will peak and when you should be most weather aware. So Saturday might be a little bit less of a tornado day in this outlook here, as the surface low pressure system that we'll be talking about has yet to be fully established. However, numerous severe storms are probably going to happen here and will especially concern the areas of Kansas City, Missouri, and Omaha, Nebraska. This highlighted area in general will change as we get closer to the day, so don't count out the severe risk on Saturday for areas like Des Moines, all the way down to Wichita, Kansas, and over to central Nebraska. Sunday the 6th is when our surface low pressure system intensifies and begins to actually route here and pull moisture up from the south along a warm front and actually develop a cold front as well, bringing cold air down and moving it from west to east. So as we get through the weekend, Davenport along the Illinois-Wisconsin border, down through Illinois and also Indiana, even as far south as Louisville, Kentucky, y'all will need to pay attention to the weather on Sunday in this risk area. Then Monday the 7th, we'll see our low pressure system and its cold front move further east into Appalachia, through Ohio, and into the eastern Great Lakes region, including Toronto and Ontario. After that, the Atlantic coast, probably from Delaware up through Boston, Massachusetts, will see the storm on Tuesday, August 8th. As of this video, the severe weather risk is less apparent on that day. More than likely, the storm will begin to occlude, lose intensity, and have less of a focused area of severe weather, but we can't rule it out completely. Just be ready for your round of storms on Tuesday if you're over here. So let's look at what beast is causing this storm and break it down piece by piece so you fully understand the reason why this is happening. This chart you're seeing here looks at the atmospheric variable called pressure, specifically how one pressure surface moves around about 4 miles above your head. This chart also highlights how anomalous or out of the normal that this movement is. So to begin, there were actually severe storms in Utah in the Salt Lake City area yesterday. And the culprit is right here, this little blue blob, or a trough. Since it's so small, we'll call it a shortwave trough. Watch how it progresses and then explodes once it gets out of mountainous terrain into the central US. Out ahead of the system here, we see a pseudo vacuum develop, where air bends outward from the center of the storm here. Well, Mother Nature requires air to rise up from the surface into that vacuum, and rising air can create storms if there's enough moisture down there at the surface. And it's summer, so there most definitely is. This storm is about to eat a 4-course meal with the moisture and instability in place while this low pressure system travels through, especially with all the corn sweat here adding to it in the Midwest. So back to our system here, air is flowing around the shortwave like this, counterclockwise. So at the surface, we see our low pressure system develop, a cold front develop down to the south of it, which will sweep from west to east, and while a warm front develops out in front of it and tracks along with the system while it all generally progresses to the east. So once again, Sunday, August 6th is when our low pressure system actually roots to the surface right there in northeastern Iowa, and it really begins to pull that moisture up and bring that cold front down and around to the south of it. This map shows the low pressure standing out pretty significantly in the dark blue here, and specifically it shows the percentile rank in terms of how often something like this happens at this time of year. As we go forward, we can see this purple area show up in the center of the low pressure, which stands for record low pressure for this time of year. So this would be a possible record-breaking low pressure system for this area in early August. A warm front organizing in the Midwest on Sunday does mean that the possibility for tornadoes is now more of a concern. We're watching really closely where exactly the low pressure system tracks over these days. This will point me and other meteorologists to the corridor most likely to see tornadic storms. As it stands to me, that area looks to be northern Illinois to southern Wisconsin on Sunday, but that may shift slightly once we understand the exact path the low will take. This is because that warm front attached to the surface low pressure system is an area that will see enhanced spin. So with a warm front anywhere in this area, that would happen because air comes from the south, meets up with the front, and then begins to spin more. So wherever the warm front sets up in this area, we can see the enhanced potential to spin here because air meets up with this front from the south and begins to converge with air moving this direction north of the front. So wherever that comes together here, we could see more spin. Of course, this threat also continues on to Monday the 7th. It's a little far out from this video to see if the ingredients will really be in place for tornadoes on this day in the eastern Great Lakes vicinity, but I wouldn't rule it out as it stands now. The reasoning would be similar along the warm front for parts of Ontario here, but could also develop along the cold front to the south if we see more supercells ahead of the line of storms here, instead of just in general a line of storms. So that storm mode will depend on wind profiles, whether the winds smash the storms together all along the cold front or really allow them to be isolated one by one along the cold front, which would allow them to be supercells more than likely. Now on Tuesday, I expect the storm mode to be much more diffuse and thus the tornado threat to be much lower along the northeast here. You can see offshore winds are actually pretty strong here along the coast. However, I don't really see an area right now of increased concern for tornadoes. We'll see if that changes, but by then you can see that the system is way north into Canada. It should be occluding and very much out of our hair after Tuesday. Either way, we'll certainly see the most organized severe threat tied to a storm system since the month of June. And of course, depending on how it evolves, we'll see if there is the need for live streams. So pay attention to this channel and make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with those. Now, over the past few days, numerous daily high temperature records have fallen in the states of Texas and Louisiana in particular. We're going to continue seeing those hot temperatures that are going to bake y'all into a cake. Now, that's not only going to be across the south and parts of the southeast, but it's also going to build up into the west as well. So this is going to happen as we go through this week and into early next week. The heat dome is going to shift eventually into the west. While the heat dome is over the south and the southeast, though, the heat index is going to be buck wild. That means this afternoon we're talking about 105 degrees is what it's going to feel like outside all along the I-35 corridor through Oklahoma, south central Kansas, and all the way through Texas. We've also got 110 degrees Fahrenheit or greater here along the Mississippi River and also most all of Louisiana and Arkansas. That's going to continue all through the weekend here in the south and the southeast, where you can really see the edge of that heat dome setting up, especially on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, over in the southwest and central California Valley, we've been experiencing a tiny break compared to what you usually see here, which is really hot, to be fair. But I hate to say it's over, and temps are going to be locked into this above average pattern for at least the next week or so. By Saturday and Sunday, this heat is making its way up into central California and even into northern California and parts of Nevada as well, which is going to add fuel to the wildfire situation over there. And through next week, it is going to be on the warmer side of things that will now include y'all in the Pacific Northwest into British Columbia as well. The latest on wildfires does include the massive York fire here in parts of the Mojave National Preserve. But with the help of some of this monsoonal moisture that you see here yesterday, firefighters have been able to fight this a little bit. The fire's been spreading in a remote area of the desert though, and has attendant fire whirls, which makes it pretty difficult to combat, as those can meander pretty aimlessly and be tough to predict. Yes, those are fire nados. So far this year, the York fire has been California's largest wildfire. Now heading up north into the Pacific Northwest, the Eagle Bluff fire has actually crossed the border into Canada and is burning out of control. This region's going to see the above average temperatures and also dry conditions continue into next week via that image I just shared from the Climate Prediction Center. So this will not only possibly prolong this wildfire, but also put this area at continued risk for even more. Now, let's get out of the heat and cool off in the Atlantic Ocean. Just kidding, that's impossible right now because the whole thing is roasting. We will have significantly above average sea surface temperatures across the majority of the Atlantic Basin, and that does have me paying extra close attention to the tropics this hurricane season. For now though, via this chart that shows us humidity through a good chunk of the atmosphere, we can see that there's mostly dry sinking air across our main development region. So that's the main reason we haven't tracked any significant hurricanes, or at least ones that are really long tracked in the Atlantic so far. But even so, I think this Atlantic hurricane season will be above average, and that would make it the 8th season in a row with above average activity, the last below average season being in 2015. And believe it or not, even though it seemed quiet for those of us on land, we're actually ahead of pace already as we have 5 named storms so far this year. The good news is that for now, all that previous activity and the near-term outlook concerning the Atlantic Basin has nothing concerning for land. But in the West Pacific, especially those concerned in southern Japan, we will have the remnant effects of Typhoon Kanun over the next week. So previously, this typhoon was much more powerful near the minor outlying islands of Japan, but it is expected to recurve back towards the mainland. And to wrap up, we'll peek at Major Hurricane Dora here in the eastern Pacific. This hurricane will take its time tracking all the way south of Hawaii over the next week or so. And in the near term, this behemoth could reach Category 4 status as it turns over open waters. So hopefully it'll pass pretty far south of Hawaii, but I'll keep an eye on it just in case it might get closer to the islands. As we get closer to those days, things might become more clear. But for now, I hope that it'll stay far away from y'all over there in Hawaii. So thank you for watching this video through and through. I hope all parts of it proved interesting and helpful. Do note once again that live streams are in the cards for severe weather potential should it ramp up over the next week or so from our system in the US. If risks are upgraded and tornado potential is realized, I'll be right here covering it. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.